Hi folks, this is video number 51 and the title is Deer in the Well. Deer in the Well. One evening I got a call about a deer in a well in the Vosburg area. The well also had a pump station included. It was below ground in a prefab concrete room with a 3 by 3 foot trap door for entry. This well distributed water to a number of buildings and farm families. It was located between two fields and a hedgerow. I called the salary officer from Bradford County, who we reported to at the time. He had a trainee from the current class at the Game Commission school. Myself and another deputy went to the location. Our boss and trainee arrived in short order. There was a snagged tree right above the access port. Apparently, the deer stepped on the door, which was rotted. He fell into the concrete building. I shined a light into the opening. There was a nice big 8-point buck with a very swollen neck, indicating he was in full rut. He was not happy. There were the usual items you would expect to find relating to a residential well system. There was a breaker box, a surge tank and wires and necessary plumbing. The buck had destroyed it all. He had even punched holes in the surge tank with his antlers. To see what we were doing, I drove my new '87 Dodge Dakota pickup down into the field and parked about 20 yards away so we could see by headlights. The snag I mentioned formed a nice tripod over the hole. We lassoed the buck by the antlers. Using the tripod for a lifting point, we each grabbed the rope and started to lift the buck out by the antlers. He actually jumped straight up, clear to his back knees about 3 times, but could not catch himself and fell back in. We got him lifted out, and then the dangerous part came. Now the deer was standing on the ground and facing us. He was not happy. Fortunately, he didn't charge us. Instead, he pulled steadily back. Our boss took out his pocket knife and started cutting the rope. He was sawing and sawing and sawing. I told him to turn it over. Apparently, he hadn't sharpened it for a while. The deer was really fighting and getting exhausted. The trainee suggested we let him rest. Oh yeah, let an angry buck rest so we can wrestle him some more. Not. Finally, the rope gave way and the buck was free, but it took a few seconds for him to realize it. Now remember, it was pitch black and the only light was coming from my truck headlights. When the deer realized he was free, he had 100 yards of open field to run away in both directions. What did he do? He turned around and looked at my truck and charged it. He jumped on the hood, and for your old timers, he did the T-Berry shuffle on my hood. Then he used his front hooves to do a bit of drumming on my roof. To end his musical display, he took his front right hoof and planted it squarely in the center of my windshield, about 3 inches above the wipers. Then he jumped off and ran down into the woods with rope hanging from his head. The next day, I called my insurance agent to make a deer damage claim. The discussion with my agent went like this. Agent, who was driving? Me. No one. Agent, what? What road were you on? Me. My truck was parked in a field, and the deer attacked my truck. Agent, I think you need to clarify. He knew I worked for the Game Commission, so as I related the above story, he understood and accepted my claim. I did have to cover the $100 deductible for a new windshield. No one reported getting a buck that came with its own drag rope. Well, folks, that concludes my little story about a deer in a well. All the best.